Good evening and welcome to Globespan 24/7 as we come to you live from New York, from Guyana, and from Trinidad and Tobago as we bring the news that is important to our community. We want to thank Nohar Singh for making this platform available, and of course to Lekram Ramprasad, our technical specialist. To our sponsors, we want to thank you for continuing to sponsor our program so we can continue to share information to our audience at home and beyond. We also want to thank our audience, our viewers for coming on and being a part of this show tonight. Tonight, we are very honored as we celebrate here in the United States Memorial Day. As we know, Memorial Day, they remember all the fallen heroes, those who fought for freedom, to defend whatever it is that they fight for. Sometimes I wish that we will put aside our guns and share unconditional love. And I think with love, there is no need for fighting among any people or any nation. But today, America remember its fallen heroes, and we want to honor our fallen heroes here in the United States. In Trinidad and Tobago, today they celebrate Indian Arrival Day. So to all the people of Trinidad and Tobago, we want to wish you also on behalf of Globespan a very happy Indian Arrival Day. Today in passing also, one of the iconic medical doctor in Guyana, Dr. Ramsundar Dubey. He passed away this morning. He has been a pillar of strength to the medical community, and we want to offer our condolences to the family of Dr. Dubey. This evening, we are very honored to have with us Senator Paula Gopee-Scoon, who is the Minister of Trade and Industry of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago. She was reappointed to this position on September 11, 2015, previously served in the prior stint as Minister of Foreign Affairs, as Trade and Industry as well. However, Senator Minister Scoon, she also had the good fortune of being the Minister of Foreign Affairs of Trinidad, as she represents the Constitutive Point 14 from 2007, and was re-elected in 2012 Minister, and then I believe you gave up that seat subsequently. So Minister, we want to welcome you to the program tonight, and we hope we'll have a great discussion on activities of Trinidad and Tobago. So welcome.
Thank you very much, and good evening, everyone. Happy Memorial Day and happy Indian Arrival Day to the people of Trinidad and Tobago. I think Guyana, I'm not sure if they celebrate it, but I think it's solely a Trinidad and Tobago holiday.
Yes, we celebrated Indian Arrival in Guyana on May the 5th.
May the 5th.
And you did it on, well, it's not Indian Arrival Day. They call it Arrival Day because they incorporate the Indians, Portuguese, Chinese as one celebration, which I think is very unfortunate. But Trinidad and Tobago today celebrate Indian Arrival Day.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And Dr. Rose, my co-host, welcome, Dr. Rose.
Thank you, Charles, and welcome, Senator Gopee. It's a pleasure having you.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here.
Minister, you're a graduate of the University of the West Indies, and you obtained a BSc in Public Administration and Law. Then you moved on to University of London, where you did your LLB in Labor and Public International Law. You also did your Mass MBA in Entrepreneurial and Innovation, Leadership, Entrepreneurial and Innovation. You're also the proud mother of 3 children, one of whom I understand was a star player in his college in the US.
That's right.
How did your training prepare you for the position of minister, which you started many, many years ago?
Well, I never intended to be a minister. I always intended to serve. And I had grown up in Point Fortin, which is in the south of Trinidad, but then lived the rest of my life post-university in Port of Spain. Whenever I went down to South Trinidad, I would find that, you know, they needed service and they needed representation. And I thought the best way to do that was probably through politics. And I was perhaps just wanting to be a member of parliament, but it turned out that I was asked to be Minister of Foreign Affairs and then ended up into that. But politics is all about service. So whether or not I was prepared, I would say yes, given the fact that the background of my parents and their life that I knew was one of service. Their lives were lives of service. And so it was almost ingrained in me and something that came quite naturally. But with regard to my studies, I had done public administration and law. I had done public administration, public international law as part of that guinea pig year in Cayville, Barbados. So you did half public administration, which is essentially some of the core social sciences program together with public administration. And I also did some law courses, public international and so on. And that served me well when I was made Minister of Foreign Affairs more than anything, because of public international, you're very much aware of matters which were impacting a ministry such as the one that I was involved with. But the masters that I did in the MBA that I did, I focused on entrepreneurial studies and innovation. And of course, that is so very applicable to the job that I now do as Minister of Trade. The focus must be on growing entrepreneurs and focusing on small and medium-sized businesses. They're the future. And of course, industry innovation points you right into Industry 4.0, which is an important feature of innovation, manufacturing, which I'm particularly fond of, in terms of ensuring that you're competitive and that and you're prepared for the future, the world of manufacturing with robotics and that kind of thing, automation and that kind of thing. So I would say that my general background, I also came from a business family, and that helped because I think it comes to me naturally. And so I think it was not a bad fit, although I think I've become a little bit of a technocrat over time.
Minister, you became a member of parliament of Point 14, as you rightly said, the constituent of Point 14 there in South Trinidad, in 2007. And then you were re-elected in 2012. Did you give up the seat after that, subsequently?
No, what happened is, well, we lost the election in 2010. But I won my seat. So I then went into opposition for 5 years. And subsequent to that, I gave up my seat. And then I was asked asked if I would join the Senate. And then I was given an appointment again. I was offered an appointment. And it's the same thing. I thought I perhaps had come to the end of my career again at 20, because I went into politics very late. So I thought perhaps in 2020, I would probably end my political life and move on to other things. But then I was also asked to continue in the Ministry of Trade. As a senator, you're there, you serve at the behest of the Honorable Prime Minister. So I'm there until I'm asked to vacate my office.
And what I like intriguing about that, Minister, is that you served 2 terms as MP for Point 14, and then you gave up that the party would have wanted someone else to have the opportunity to be elected to Parliament, because Point 14, I think, is one of the safe PNM seats, if I can recall.
Nothing is safe in politics, you know that.
Yeah, you're right.
Is safe in politics. You've heard of 33-3 in the past. You've heard of landslides in Barbados and so on. So we're all over the region. All kinds of things can happen in politics. But the point, I did give it up. I thought I had a good stint, and I gave it up then. And I was happy to be asked once again. And you never, even though you're not the holder of a seat, the point is you're in politics and you're in government, and therefore you are political in your orientation. And you are still called to serve the people even beyond your ministry. You're serving your party. And so the politics never stops, even though you're no longer a member of parliament. Well, an elected member
of parliament. And I'm saying that, Minister, because in Guyana, as you know, we don't have the constituent like Trinidad and Tobago.
That's right.
So we have a list system, and we have some member of parliament who are there since Adam maybe was born. So they don't never leave parliament. That's why, like in Trinidad and Tobago, the party asks you to step aside and let someone else fill that seat, have the exposure in parliament. And I think that's a good thing. Now, we also need to have, to those with some institutional memory to be there, but
Yeah.
I guess it's different from Guyana and Trinidad and Tobago in terms of member of parliament.
It's a different system, but I mean, again, I mean, in politics, you have to give way to the new and to expertise and so on. So at any time, they may, you know, you can't go into an election over and over with the same slate. You have to come with something new, something exciting. Some people with the better, who would be, and if someone who would be a better fit. So politics is evolving, always evolving. And so it could never be the same static situation. And so people like me would one day give way to others. And that's how the party would evolve and move on. So it's all good. It's the way it's supposed to be.
Yeah, and I agree with you. But here, like in the US as well, there are members in the Congress who are there since Noah built the Ark, and they're still there. But that's a different environment altogether.
Different system. But the presidents in the US are restricted 2 terms only.
That's correct. Yeah, but if Congress people don't want to have that restriction. But Minister, let us talk about Trinidad and Tobago. How is the state of the economy of Trinidad and Tobago as you speak today?
I would say we've had a difficult time, and I'll speak from the party perspective. From the time we came into office, I could only say from 2015. At that time, there was an overall global slump, like starting in 2014, and generally, we're a country that depends on oil exports for our revenue largely. A substantial part of our revenue comes from oil exports, and so we are price takers, and so that and history has shown us that we go with I mean, as a price taker, you pretty much operate in, there's volatility in your economy on account of that, and so we are in a good place now in terms of in that energy prices are quite high. But at the same time, we're still the best economy, the largest economy within the region. But again, we're building the non-energy side, and history has taught us that that's the right thing to do, so that there's less dependence on the energy revenues. So whilst it will always be relevant from the standpoint that we've been blessed with hydrocarbons, the fact is that we also have to ensure that there's a balance, and therefore we must diversify our economy so that there's not so much of a reliance on the export of a particular suite of products that for which we are price takers, and therefore we are impacted in our revenue streams. So it's the reason why I have, for instance, focused so much on our manufacturing sector. But to go back, at this time, we are all suffering as well on account of coming out of COVID. Would have been all countries in the world would have suffered, and then of course, following from that, the war in Ukraine. So whilst we would have some high energy prices now on account of the war, and so it might be a bit of a windfall in terms of price. We're still in a place where we are all recovering. I think in the region we are all recovering still from COVID-19. And now coping with the effects of the war in Ukraine. And so whilst I say we're in fairly good shape, there's still a lot more to do, as we are all, as I said, recovering. We're in a state of recovery coming out of the pandemic, and also, of course, as I said, the war in Ukraine. So there's a lot of work to do, and it's recovery mode. And I think every economy in the region would have their eyes on, every government would have their eyes on economic recovery and growth. And Trinidad and Tobago is no different.
Minister, with a change of government, before PNM was re-elected, the People's Partnership was there. Is there continuity of policy from one government to the other, or new strategies are developed as a new government comes into Trinidad and Tobago?
Well, I mean, any government that comes in, and we were government. Let me go back to say that the PNM government is the one that really brought a party that started in somewhere in 1956 or so, brought this country to independence and to Republican status later on. We have been in government for the majority of time from independence to now, and so that we're a government that has a very good track record, and we've had policy-wise, we are the ones that have been responsible and still are responsible for a very sound education system, which we pride ourselves on. And so when it comes to policy, I would say I belong to a party that will always do the right thing. So it's not a question of changing policy for the sake of changing because there's a new party in place. The PNM party, which is in government now, has always done the right thing and has always been policy focused and on doing what's right for the people of Trinidad and Tobago. So it's not just a question of changing for changing's sake. And when it came to particular things like education and so on, we've always been very focused on that. This is a country where you would have free education from nursery to tertiary. And again, that is a policy, a past policy of the PNM government. And we have still remained very, very focused on the education, on vocational training as well. And so again, I make the point that it's not just about changing to suit the government, but doing what's right for the people and for the economy.
Thank you, Dr. Rose.
Good night again, Senator Schoon.
Good night.
I want to clear the air once and for all with a very simple question. You did not promote this, but one of your very good friends, one of close colleagues of yours, I'm now going to say whether it's a he or she, leading him because of your experience. What do you think?
I missed what you we lost connectivity for a short while there. So can you say that again?
Okay. One of your good friends, I'm not going to say whether it's a male or female, thinks that you should be the next leader of the PNM.
Oh, absolutely not. And I tell you that we have a leader in whom I am well pleased. So
no, not replacing this leader, but let's say in the next few years.
No, I can tell you that I'm not interested at all.
You said because of their experience and your longevity department.
Oh, no. I won't be caught in that at all. I think politics is about giving, it's about service. I've done my part. I've been here. I've been fortunate. There are not many people who have had the opportunity to stay that long in politics. I've been involved for close to 14 years. I came in very late in my life. Perhaps if I came in earlier, if I'd come in very early, I probably would have thought about leadership. But you're leaders in your own right. When you're leading a ministry, you are a leader. You're a leader for that particular aspect of the economy or so. And then even when you're in part involved as an MP, you are in fact leading a constituency. And then it's leadership at the level of a minister. You are a leader, and so that's why you're a minister. And there's a prime minister. And decisions are made collectively by a cabinet. So you are part of the leadership. But to come back to me personally, I have no interest, never had, and will not. And it's time for the young people. It's time for the young people, but the wisdom of Dr. Rowley, I would tell you, he is the one who's taken us through some very difficult times, through the COVID period, and also through this very difficult time as now. We have a statesman who's in office, and perhaps he might be there for another 5 years.
Very good answer. I must tell you that. Very good answer. Very smart. Now, let me ask you this question. Do you know Dr. Eric Williams personally?
No, I can't say personally. I would have seen him as a child or as a young person, as I would say. I was I was born in 1958. So sometime when he may have come down to point 14 or so, my parents, my mother in particular, loved politics and was a school teacher and then a school principal. So I would know if a minister came down and so on. But you would be familiar with him from seeing him on television and so on. And I was at university when he passed on. So in the earlier part of my life as a young person and so on, I didn't know him personally at all, but admired him for what he did for our country and also for what he did in terms of uniting the region. As you know, he was very, very focused on that. And when the Federation failed, he was one of a group of 4 who brought us into the collective region. He was the one who was focused. Well, he's one that is long admired. He's the one who would have introduced the policies of education. Again, I come back to that because it's one of our greatest assets, our people, our human resource in Trinidad and Tobago, very qualified and educated people. So, and of course, he would have been part of a government that would have been responsible for the monetization of our assets, our hydrocarbons in the very early days. As I said, I was born in Point Fortin, and I was born in the oil belt. And so that I was around in Point Fortin with there was a refinery there in those days. I think even a summer holiday, I may have worked for Shell. My father worked for Shell before he got into business. So I mean, one knows the importance of the policies of the government under Dr. Eric Williams, taking us from colonialism, taking us into independence, also the great monetization of our assets very early, long ago. And it's the reason why Trinidad and Tobago has solid infrastructure and so on, and a well-developed petrochemical industry. So we have done well. I didn't know him personally, but anybody who understands the history of Trinidad and Tobago would be very much appreciative of the work that he's done, and of course would appreciate his intellect as well. It's there in the libraries of Trinidad and Tobago. It's there across the globe. He's known, and I think Trinidad and Tobago is a much better place having had Dr. Eric Williams serve this country.
Okay, you answered 2 questions in one, but let me ask you another question. Do you know former Prime Minister Patrick Manning personally?
But of course I did, because I didn't know him before, actually. Like anybody else, I wanted to serve the seat of Point Fortin, and I did what you had to do, get a nomination. And then I was able to run for the seat of Point Fortin. I didn't know him before, but of course, being a member of the cabinet, I came to know him. And of course, being as a Minister of Foreign Affairs, and for the short while that I was, 2.5 years before we lost the election, we would have been very busy holding 2 very large international meetings, the 5th Summit of the Americas and the Commonwealth Heads of Government meeting. So therefore, I would have worked very closely with the then Patrick Manning in terms of hosting all of those heads of state from the world coming to little Trinidad and Tobago.
Dr. Rose?
You're hearing me, Charles?
Yeah, go on. Go ahead.
Hello?
Yeah, go right ahead.
Yeah.
Yes. So the question I want to ask you, what was his leadership like?
Patrick
Minister
Manning?
Yes.
Prime Minister Manning, solid, because I'll tell you, he knew the politics well. He joined as a youth, so he came up through the party ranks. Would have been a permanent secretary, I think, for at some point. Not a permanent secretary. It's a junior minister, tantamount to a junior minister, and then of course he became a minister, and then he became prime minister and so on. So I would say he's grown up in the ranks. He was an excellent politician. region. He knew politics well. He was an excellent orator, so that I think everyone around the region would have appreciated that skill in him. Excellent orator, very much a party politician, very much involved in constituency. I remember saying to him one day when I wanted to go down to Cedrus, I said, why don't we take the helicopter from Port of Spain? And he said, well, how would I ever see the country? And that meant we had to get up at 5:30. He and his car, me and mine, and we drove. And he said that's how he keeps in touch with the people. And so he was a man of the people. And as I said, understood well, brilliant man, a brilliant mind, and very much a regionalist as well.
Now, turning to your portfolio, you mentioned that you want to make Trinidad and Tobago the business and trade hub of the Caribbean by attracting domestic and foreign investments. How would you do that?
Well, no, the thing is, we are the business of the region. We're all trading nations within the region, but when I say the business hub in terms of in level of exports and imports, both energy and non-energy exports as well, we are the largest we are the largest trading nation within the region. But the idea is that, as I said before, the idea is that we need to do more on the non-energy side, and therefore my focus is really on developing the non-energy side more than ever. We are the manufacturing hub of the region. Jamaica is growing in terms of its manufacturing sector, but we have to do more than that. We have to be able to feed ourselves. We have to lower our lower our imports. Our import bills are way too high. We have to look at further, even though we manufacture and export a number of food and beverage items, which we consume as well, and which we export to the region. The thing is, we do have to manufacture more. As I said, the focus is on food sustainability, feeding ourselves, growing our exports, and also growing our non-manufacturing and non-energy industries as well in terms of the maritime sector. And I'm not involved in the agricultural sector, but from the point of view as a trade minister, having to attend quartet meetings and represent the interests of the agriculture minister at times as well. So the focus for me is on growing the manufacturing sector and also growing the non-energy side as well, growing our entrepreneurs and getting more, ensuring that our small and micro businesses, medium-sized businesses are able to grow, focusing on family businesses as well, and ensuring that people do have a chance in participating in the economy. That's on the export side, I would say, but more on the investment side, again, attracting non-energy investments more than anything else. Trinidad and Tobago has been known to attract significant energy investments in terms of the petrochemical sector and so on. The focus now has to be on the non-energy. And so that for instance, one of the things that we're doing by the end of the year, hoping to get this off the ground, would be to renew our promotional work. And instead of having several disparate trade and export and investment agencies, we are now going to be doing one agency which will focus on sales and marketing of our goods and also attracting our investments. So it's one of the ways we're doing. It's so that the focus is also on building not just on building capacity, but on institutional strengthening as well. And there are a number of, in addition to which there are a number of policy interventions by the government, formulation of the right type of policies to just grow our manufacturing, even to diversify our manufacturing sector. So for instance, growing our production of steel pans. I mean, I point that out, and exporting our steel pans, that's one thing. Thinking of growing our wood industry, again. So expanding our wood manufacturing, as well. There are several subsectors within the manufacturing sector. So garment manufacturing, thinking about going back there and focusing on that aspect of the diversification of the manufacturing sector as well. So there's a lot of work and a lot of areas to give attention to, but the focus has to be on growing business and of attracting new investments into those particular sectors.
One of your speeches when you were Minister of Foreign Affairs, you said your goal is to deepen Caribbean integration. And appointed Minister of Trade and Industry, you said the same thing, but this time through trade. Can you explain that a little more?
The thing is, I'm a regionalist at heart. I could tell you that. I mean, especially growing up in Point Fortin, I'm going back to my youth again. You heard we were in business and you would hear the accents of the Grenadians and the Barbadians, right? So you knew from then that we didn't do everything on our own, that these people came to our country to fell the trees so that we could build rigs, these rigs out of wood and so on. And it's from those early days that I came to understand the importance of the region. And then, of course, being exposed further as a student of UWI at Caville, being introduced to the rest of the people of the OECS countries and so on. So always with a focus on regionalism. So yes, I said that as Minister of Foreign Affairs, and I say that to say that it's deeply embedded in me. But through at the level of the region, we have to think not only of ourselves but the region as well. For instance, if we talk about, let's say, manufacturing, let me go back to manufacturing. We currently, so we are the strongest manufacturers in the region, but we depend a lot on foreign inputs, extra-regional inputs. The idea is then, why can't that product, the inputs to that product be supplied from the region? And so looking at it regionally, it means that end to end, from input to the final product, through the value added, perhaps we have to look at where the strengths are across the region. And it means that together we can become a regional powerhouse in terms of manufacturing. In other words, if you look at the fact that Belize and Guyana would have greater land resources than, let's say, St. Lucia, Barbados, and Trinidad, it means that perhaps instead of importing soybean oil, for instance, the soybean can be grown in one of those countries and perhaps refined in another, using the remnants, the soy meal to go into animal feed for the region, and of course supplying ourselves with the end product of soybean. I'm giving you an example of how of the value added and the entire production of the particular item being regional. And I think that kind of value added, that kind of approach is what is perhaps best for all of us, because we simply can't do everything. As I said, we have mixed resources, and so looking at the value added, and I think that's the approach to take in terms of ensuring that we could grow regionally and supply ourselves, and again regionally, it means that we can be more competitive with the rest of the world. If we are regionally united in terms of our production level, our production, it means that we can be, in fact, more of a powerhouse against the rest of the world.
Trinidad, during the oil booming years, Trinidad had one of the highest standards of living, was paying the highest salaries in the region, and I saw where it still has as much cars as people. Now the oil boom has somehow collapsed in Trinidad, but how Trinidad has been able to maintain the highest standards of living and also the highest salary scale.
No, I mean, the thing is, we have been blessed, as I said. I go back to that with hydrocarbons, and we had monetized our oil, monetized our gas, diversified, and went into petrochemicals and that kind of thing. And yes, our GDP is the highest within the region. And but our times have been different, and this is not the first time that we've seen, the COVID period is not the first time that we would have lost our strength, or countries would have gone into difficulty. I mean, even one goes back to the 80s. when Trinidad and Tobago had, I think if you think late 80s or so, we would have had 2 devaluations in our currency. And so those were very difficult times. So we've had peaks and troughs. And there are times when we've done well on account of, I said again, and we are price takers, and we have done well on account of high energy prices. And we have had strong union representation in Trinidad as well, so that you would find that those within the energy industry would, of course, benefited from high salaries and so on, and that would have paved the way for a generally high level of salaries across different sectors. But the thing is, we are where we are. I think we have to be. I think we have to understand the times that we are in. This is a difficult time, as I said, globally, and I think we just have to be resilient, live through these difficult times, and perhaps and try to maintain the lifestyle that we have. But it's not easy for government. It's not. It hasn't been easy for us in the last 10 years or so, as a government, dealing with revenue, much lower revenues than we've had before, and I would have to say thanks to the leadership of the Prime Minister and to the Minister of Finance that we've been able to battle the storms. But it has not always just been rosy. We've had the last 10 years or so have been particularly difficult. But as I said, there were periods before, again, on account of the volatility of the energy prices and so on. And we've had to battle it out. So this is not a generally rosy picture, but things are looking better because of the high energy prices. But we are working steadily on improving our production levels, or production of food, so that we import less and we feed ourselves as a nation. And of course, focusing on diversification and having better revenues from the non-energy side. So that's where it is. But it's not all rosy.
Let me just ask you this question. I've never asked this question of any of our guests for the past 2 or 3 years, but I'm going to ask you first. Now, you're a Catholic.
Yes, I am.
How strong is the Catholic religion in Trinidad, given the fact that a number of other churches, like the Pentecostal churches, have risen up in the island?
No, I think the Catholic faith is still a very strong one, but there are a multitude of churches of different types of religions in Trinidad and Tobago. Understanding, though, that our very unique situation where half the population, well, almost half the population would be Indian, so most of them would be of the the Hindu or the Muslim faith, but of course there are Indians that are Catholics as well. But there are I think it's across the region that there are a multitude of small churches and different religions and so on. But I would say that the Catholic Church in Trinidad is still fairly strong. But I think generally what we've lost is perhaps a lot of maybe the young people. I'm not sure that there's that strong youth following in perhaps all churches. And this is something that we perhaps have to go back to. And I think heads of religions are very much focused, I think, on strengthening their following and so on. I think it's a big focus. I think we need it in the world that we live in today. I think we need it as support for our family bases. Religion is important, and it has been so much of a focus of my life that I think it's that all persons have to recognize that why they're on this earth and continually give praise and thanks that they're alive, and every new day is a new chapter and much to be grateful for. I think I rely strongly as an individual on the fact that I'm a Catholic and I believe in my God, and I'm very grateful and strong in praise and so on for my Maker.
Amen. Charles, over to you.
Amen.
That's a good note to take a short commercial break, Minister, and then we'll come back as soon as we take this break.
Righto. Thank you. Bye.
Minister Schoon, you've been doing a fantastic job. I never expected
We're still live,
the person you
Dr. Rose.
on Sorry.
Lekram, are we going to commercial break now? Okay. Minister, by the time we go to break, I know you mentioned it to Dr. Rose a minute ago about recently you launched that project, the establishment of the trade facilitation inquiry point for Trinidad and Tobago and developing the export for the European market. It was a grant by the EU and from the Caribbean Development Bank. How does that play into regional integration in terms of getting the regional product to the European market?
No, that's quite separate. That trade inquiry point is really for Trinidad and Tobago. Trinidad and Tobago is the first Caricom country to sign on to this trade agreement and through the WTO, and we all have our commitments to meet. Trinidad and Tobago is going to meet its commitments. The trade inquiry point fits well into a trade and business portal, which we launched this week as well. And what it is, what it means and what it provides is that it's online. Any business person, any member of the public can actually have access to trade information to the extent where any inquiry in terms of a business process, how do I start a business, how do I get into manufacturing, how do I apply for an import license, all of those trade inquiries are facilitated, and that trade inquiry point is part of this portal which we launched this week. So it goes hand in hand, but what it is, it gives information to the business public in particular about, let's see, all of the tariff codes that are available. Normally, customs officers will call us up in the ministry, what's the tariff code for this, what is it, that kind of thing, or business persons. This gives you online all of the processes with regard to business, and of course it links you to the other ministries. You want to start a business, and it sends you right to the ministry of that has responsibility for starting a business. Ministry of the Attorney General and Legal Affairs sends you right there, tells you what forms you need, etc. It's really I would say a powerhouse of information that gives you the tools to make better commercial decisions as to and to inform all the decisions that you would make, I suppose, yes, commercially. So these are some very good initiatives that we've done this week, both the trade inquiry point and also just to satisfy our trade facilitation agreement, but also that fits in, as I said, to the trade and investment business portal.
Thank you, Minister. Lekram, are you ready for the commercial break?
I thought we were on the break.
Okay.
Guyana Independence is in May, and Travelspan has the cheapest fares. Fly with non-stop and direct flights to Guyana on American, JetBlue, or Caribbean Airlines. Fares start from $185 one-way and $414 round-trip to Guyana. And from Guyana, one-way fares start from $251 and round-trip from $456. These are non-stop and direct flights to and from Guyana. Call Travelspan for these cheap fares. In the U.S., call 718-845-0437. In Georgetown and West Coast Demerara, call 227-1701. And in Berbice, call 337-4287. Travelspan is serving the community for over 27 years, with offices in Queens, Georgetown, Berbice, West Coast Demerara, and Trinidad. When you purchase at one office, you can reconfirm your flight at any other Travelspan office for all your convenience. Call Travelspan today and book your flights now.
Is when this wedding got done? Right now my belly burning for the 7 curry. But them fancy people just call it vegetarian food. I just call it 7 curry.
Order your 7 curry or vegetarian box today from allfromonesupplier.com and get free shipping throughout the US. The 2022 competition is in Cancun on July 28th to August 1st. Who is going? The Duck and the Curry going for sure, plus Raymond Ramnarine, Terry G., young upcoming dancer, and singer Ariana, Randy Reckless, and the Reckless Tassa Group. The competition for the best tasting duck is in Cancun for 2022. Friends and families, make this a reunion.
Break it down, 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 ding. Break it down, down, ding. Break it down, down, ding. Hey yo, my sweetheart, say I'm addicted to you.
Family and friends meet up in Cancun on July 28th. Enjoy your culture, your music, and your duck. For more info, call Travel-Span at 212-243-0865. That is 212-243-0865. In Canada, call 647-557-6200. In Trinidad, call Amirals at 645-1604. And in Guyana, 227-1701 or visit us at travelspan.com.
जन्म जन्म का साथ है तुम्हारा हमारा.
Bollywood on the Beach is a family and friends event with Bollywood Entertainment. July 14th to the 18th, enjoy a 5 days and 4 nights all-inclusive vacation with your family and friends and your culture. Performers from India, Pakistan, Trinidad and Guyana will be live at the resorts with your favorite Bollywood songs. In Punta Cana, Dominican Republic, stay in the family section or in the adults only section and enjoy over 12 restaurants, 11 bars, 7 pools, play areas, spas, and exclusive beach area. Your all-inclusive Bollywood on the Beach vacation is from $1,095 per person, which includes your airfare, transfer, hotel, and all you can eat and drink. Make it a family and friends reunion in Punta Cana, Dominican Republic. Flights available from all U.S. cities, Canada, Trinidad, and Guyana. For rates, date, and more info, call Travel-Span at 212-243-0865. In Canada, call 647-557-6200. In Trinidad, call Amirals at 645-1604. And in Guyana, 227-1701 or visit us at travelspan.com. Looking for a reliable contractor? Look no further. Call Sings Construction today. At Sings Construction, they can cover all your jobs, interior and exterior. We cover painting, bathrooms, kitchen, doors, windows, tiles, brick, decks, flooring, and concrete. Call Naresh Singh today for your free quote at 9172384180. That's 9172384180.
Folks, the Nest Restaurant is the place to dine for Guyanese and Caribbean dishes. It is the best restaurant in Queens. The staff is courteous, and Dave, the owner, is always there to welcome you. So for a memorable dining experience, visit the Nest Restaurant located at 12717 101 Avenue, South Richmond Hill. Go and make a reservation today, or takeout. Call 718-847-4035.
Welcome back to our audience as we have the Honorable Senator Minister Paula Gopee-Scoon. Minister, welcome back.
Thank you.
Minister, when we went before break, you gave a really great statement and made some great input into Caricom and the region. But Caricom, as you know, Minister, was set up via the Treaty of Chaguaramas. And the first treaty, or the first statement within that treaty says, recalling the declaration of Grand Isle and the other decisions of the Conference of Heads of Government, in particular the commitment of the deepening regional economic integration through the establishment of a Caricom single market. And I want to stop there. And Minister, you know, a country developed or creates wealth through its economic development. there's been very much disparity across the region in terms of our economic development. Our politicians really just talking and not getting it done what the vision of the founding fathers were that set up Caricom?
Well, you talked about the disparity in wealth in terms of the countries, but that is so because of natural resources, the resources that you were endowed with. That is also so because of size. And so it's not at all on account. The reason for the differences in economic development are well known and well established. The commitment for CARICOM is there, but the fact is that we have made some strides in terms of the CARICOM single market. But what we need is the will to continue and to deepen those commitments, and particularly in the face of the trials that we've been having in a post-COVID world. And so we really do need to put our heads together. And I think I'm seeing the commitment from the heads that are around the table at this time. I can tell you from the perspective of Trinidad and Tobago, we've always had very, very dedicated and committed regionalists from Dr. Eric Williams to Mr. Chambers to Patrick Manning to Dr. Rowley, very committed regionalists, so that Dr. Rowley is now an elder in the region. But the commitment and the will is there, and I think we just have to drive that forward. I think everyone around the table, I sit there at the level of at quoted meetings of ministers of trade. We may not agree on everything, but I think we're like-minded in terms of where we must go. And I think we just need to be to persevere and give effect to the political will that is there. I cannot agree with you. I mean, as I said, the economies are not all the same, but it's for a variety of reasons. We were not all made, we didn't all become independent at the same time. Some of the countries in the region are so very small, under 200,000 people, whereas Jamaica is 3.4 million or something like that. So it's your resources, it's what you've been blessed with. Many of them are greater to tourism, and they have significant they've really developed in terms of tourism, and they've suffered on account of that at the same time. So whilst they have depended on that tourism industry, they've had a hard time because of where they're physically located in terms of being within a hurricane belt. So many of the smaller territories that are so dependent on the tourism industry have really suffered at some very huge and devastating hurricanes, which have really broken their economies, and they've almost had to redo their countries almost. St. Vincent suffered on account of Soufrière, and so that we've all had our difficulties, but I can safely say, and it's because of my own involvement as Minister. Then as Minister of Foreign Affairs and now as a Minister of Trade and a substantial part, and we are part of the CSME. It works, and it can work even better, but with political will. And I can say that the will is there, judging from the statements that come from the heads. We are all committed. As I say, we may have our differences from time to time, but it hasn't kept us back. I think it needs a push, and I would say that at this time we are all committed.
Minister, I feel your passion, and I see how dedicated you sung for regional integration. But what I'm trying to talk about the success of CARICOM as a one unitary body. Do you think there should be a CARICOM parliament?
But that. I mean, you're going back to the days of the federation, right? And it failed. One from 10 was 0, and
that's what your Prime Minister
1
said.
from 10 was 0. It failed then. That's a big step. That's a big step, because you're talking about questions of sovereignty. And so that's a big discussion, and it's something that I'm going to be, it's something that I can't comment on. I'm not told that you would have the meeting of the minds at that level. It's something that I suppose one day maybe explode again, but it hasn't worked. It didn't work then. It didn't work as a federation, and if this is the way that we have to work now with the configuration that we currently have, then this is the way we must work. And perhaps if the discussion enters again, I suppose it will be for the heads and the people to discuss, and whether or not that's the way we would wish to go again. But I would exercise great care and say it didn't work when we were supposed to have the federation, but at this time we work with what we have, and we commit to that.
Okay, Minister, let's go back to trade and industry, and you mentioned some good points about tourism, for instance, the Barbados, Trinidad, the Caribbean islands, with nice blue water with white sand. Some tourists go to that, but what we have not seen as a region to package tourists to go to see the rainforest of Guyana or to Suriname or to Belize, to Paria Falls in Trinidad. I mean, those are great areas to visit, but we don't see that as a regional effort to get the holiday dollar, those who come on vacation, the tourists, to get that tourist dollar across the region by packaging that sector. Do you see that happening, or that's not in the picture as well?
Well, I'm not the Minister of Tourism, but I can say that they're all possibilities. They do meet, ministers with responsibility for tourism do in fact meet, and there have been decisions and discussions around travel and travel within the region, travel taxes, transportation. Those have all formed parts of the discussion around the table. But as to the packaging, I think it depends on the particular territory and the asset they may have in terms of whether the ecotourism or entertainment is another part of the tourism, health tourism. There's so many, very many aspects of tourism that I think we all have to look at as we try to diversify and sell ourselves and sell our countries. The region is a good place, I would say, to recover if one were to look at health tourism. And so maybe I'm sure that those are all that's part of the discussion as we talk about, again, formalizing our services sector and broadening our services sector in the region. I know that there are discussions now at the level of Caricom on packaging and on formalizing the services sector, and that is to be better able to sell. And that services sector includes the tourism and health tourism, as I said, and other things, education tourism, from a point of view, opening of universities and encouraging the and selling our country as a place to educate yourself and enjoy the rest of the country. But yes, I would think it would depend on the different territories to grow those particular tourism subsectors. And Trinidad, I know that it is working on its and selling and developing its ecotourism. Tobago boasts of ecotourism. The focus in Tobago is on ecotourism, but there's also the entertainment side of it too, where people just love Trinidad and Tobago's carnival above everywhere else in the world. And therefore you would find that for not people came long ago for the weekend. Now people come to Trinidad and Tobago Carnival, which is entertainment tourism, cultural tourism. They come for the month. There are people who come and go back and come back, and so on. So we've packaged it in such a way that we sell that cultural tourism for an entire period right after Christmas and until after Carnival.
Yeah, you're right, Minister. And as you rightly said, Trinidad has been the most developed countries within the region. and you have had a strong manufacturing base, and you, because of course for cheap electricity as well, you have the most competitive rate, I believe, in the region.
We do.
You have exported within the region. You have a trade surplus with almost all of the countries within Caricom. But Minister, there is a problem, I think, out of Guyana where our sugar industry, we produce sugar, but instead of buying from Guyana, Trinidad went to Guatemala for sugar. You want to address that issue?
Guyana packages brown sugar and it's sold in Trinidad and Tobago.
But
I'm not sure what you're saying.
I think the bulk of your sugar, I think your market, it's about 30,000 metric tons annually.
Yeah, but Trinidad and Tobago, we would use, the offering would be two different types of sugar.
That's correct, yes.
The brown sugar and also refined white sugar. Guyana doesn't produce any refined white sugar.
That's correct. But for our brown sugar, I think some of your sugar is coming out of Guatemala rather than the region, whether it's Belize or Guyana.
I don't know. We buy brown sugar from Belize and also from Guyana. It's sold on our shelves.
Okay. And Minister, the other thing I was informed of is the livestock, that Trinidad put a kind of barrier to Guyana's duck meat coming to Trinidad. Is that really so, or is it?
No, there's a barrier to duck meat. I can't say. I know that there was once an issue with Suriname with duck, but Suriname duck is allowed into Trinidad and Tobago, subject to satisfying all of the sanitary and phytosanitary measures. So
about Guyana?
I'm not aware. I'm not the Minister of Agriculture, so I'm not sure that it's not allowed. I don't know that at all. This is the first time hearing about that.
Okay. Minister, and as a regional body, as you mentioned, as a regionalist, do you think it might be, in your view, what do you think of, as you rightly said, the factors of production? Each countries, they have different resources. Like St. Lucia, they have a really great banana plantation. They grow banana well, and I think St. Vincent also might have that same crop.
Yes.
Of course, other parts of the Caricom, Trinidad have soil type for different things. So Barbados have soil type for other crops as well. Are we looking to maximize the use of our resource within the region to ensure that what is produced in a more competitive way, we pool support to that country to ensure that we can meet the requirement, the productive requirement, and meet the international standard equality to ensure that the region overall benefit? Is that something that the governments are looking at?
I think all countries are looking at food security more than anything else. COVID in particular, on account of that, you have had a lot of supply chain issues. And so many importers would have had to change their sources. Manufacturers would have had to change their sources in terms of inputs. Freight rates have risen phenomenally as well on account of COVID, and it hasn't gone down. So you find that if you take, for instance, a product like flour, where we depend on inputs like inputs of wheat, the price of wheat has gone up astronomically. Again, there are concerns of availability, particularly as there's no wheat coming out of the Baltic region, and there are countries that are now refraining from exports. So there are issues now of not only just price, but of availability as well. So that every country in the region, I can tell you now, is thinking about food security. And I know that, for instance, there was a meeting in Guyana only recently where I know many prime ministers attended. Our prime minister attended as well, and the focus was on agriculture. It was an agriculture forum, and as you know, Guyana is the lead head with responsibility for agriculture within Caricom, and there have been several initiatives. The Jagadero initiative. There's now another initiative, and I can safely say that all members of the, particularly coming out of all of these supply chain issues and so on, and the difficulties that we've all had with our economies, it's about securing ourselves, and it's also about exporting. But before anything else, securing ourselves food-wise, and not relying on these imported goods at imported prices. And again.
Okay, Minister, before Dr. Rose come on, I just want to bring you mentioned monetization of your asset with the hydrocarbon and so on. Did Trinidad and Tobago got a fair deal on the hydrocarbon?
Well, it's hard to me to say exactly what's fair or not, but I would, into my mind, I've never been a Minister of Energy, but I would say that it's been fair in terms of the development that we've gotten out of our country, and the fact that we were an early stage developer ahead of anybody else in the region, ahead of many countries in Africa, which were similarly endowed. So, and out of that, we got a very educated population and a very strong and physical infrastructure. When you come to Trinidad, there are highways and so on. And when you look around the Trinidad and Tobago, there's a skyline, for instance, that you would not see in the rest of the region. So, are we developed? We are a developing country, but we've made many strides, and it is on account of our hydrocarbon resources, which we had monetized. As to say whether it's fair, I would only say it's fair because we truly have benefited, but just calculate to tell you whether or not it could have been better, I can't tell you. But certainly I mean, in terms of the fact that we've done this for the last 60 years. It's oil, for instance, for the last 100 years, more than 100 years, we've been commercializing oil. So have we benefited? That's the right question. Have we benefited? Tremendously.
Okay, and that's a good point, because I know I studied in your country, Minister. I was at ECIA for 2 years. And I know going to Lady Young Road, look over Port of Spain, is beautiful scenery there.
Yes.
I don't know if you answer this question, but you think Guyana has a fair deal in its newfound oil? Would you want to comment on that?
It's hard for me to say. I don't know the details. It's very high. I can't comment on it.
Okay. Dr. Rose?
Yes, Senator Gopee. During the oil booming years in Trinidad, it is said that Trinidad economy developed the fastest than any other country in the region, especially in the areas of trade. How much trade is being conducted between Trinidad and Caricom? And which is Trinidad's largest trading partner in the Caribbean?
But let me tell you that the largest trading partner in the world for us is number one trading partner is the USA. And the second to that will be Caricom. Within Caricom, would you believe our number one trading partner within Caricom at this time is Guyana? Now you would say formerly it was Jamaica, but because of the size. But at this time, and it's because of the energy exports. I looked at the figures recently, and because of the quantum of a particular, I think it was, I can't remember the particular item, but it was an energy export figure. And that really ramped us up to Guyana being our highest export partner within the region. But similarly, we do maintain significant trade with Jamaica as well, especially on the non-energy side. And again, it's because of their population size.
My colleague mentioned that most of the trade Trinidad is doing right now, it's a surplus for Trinidad. Why is that?
I don't understand what do you mean?
Trinidad is a surplus in trading with most Caricom countries.
And
it's selling more than what it's buying.
Within the region, and it's because you don't have many producers within the region. Okay.
Now, let me switch up to another question here. What is retirement age in Trinidad?
It's 60.
Okay, good. Thanks. And if we take a good look at the island of Trinidad, it's small in comparison to the size of Guyana, but its trading is from what I gather, is about 5 times that of Guyana. But how large is Trinidad trading capacity vis-a-vis Caricom?
I don't have the figure at hand, but it is substantial to the extent, as I said to you before, the Caricom is our second largest trading partner. So it is substantial. It is. We have been able to supply the region with a significant amount of the needs, particularly on the non-energy side. So it is substantial, but I couldn't give you the figure offhand. But in terms of exports, we at this time we're exporting about $15 billion, and of that figure, let me break it down for you. The non-energy exports would be about on the non-energy side, we would be about 30 billion, and no, it has to be less. It has to be less, maybe about 28 billion or so on the non-energy side.
When you became the Minister of Trade and Industry, you have expanded Trinidadian trading possibilities within the region and outside of the region. And as you rightly said, your largest trading partner is with the United States. But what section of trade have you expanded within the region?
The trade to the region is, as I said, on both. And when we had a refinery, there were more products that we would be producing and supplying the region. Now that we don't have a refinery, we still do import some products and sell to the region as well. But we are also selling a lot of manufactured goods, food and beverage goods, and so on. I'm not sure exactly what you're asking.
I'm asking the sectional trading within the Caribbean from Trinidad. What areas of, well, not areas, what products you're trading within the Caribbean?
But it's, and always remember, it's both goods and services that you're exporting within the region. The CSME allows you to have the free movement of people as well. And so you are exporting services, you're exporting goods as well. If you're asking me to name the types of goods, it would be food and beverage and cement. We do supply a significant amount of cement to the region as well. And those kinds of items. I'm not sure that I'm getting you.
No, you did answer the question. What is Trinidad's largest earning foreign currency? For example, in Guyana, one thing was bauxite, followed by sugar, then I think gold, but now today is oil. What is Trinidad's largest earning foreign currency today? I know before was oil, but today.
It would be our energy products. But our energy products are wide and varied. So it will be on natural gas, which is, yes, on natural gas, but it's also ammonia. It's also, Trinidad and Tobago has perhaps about 7 ammonia plants. We also have methanol plants, urea, UAN, and we export all of these. We export all of these products. It has to be our energy products. And it's a variety, as I said. Methanol, ammonia, urea, UAN, yeah, natural gas.
Does Trinidad produce ethanol?
Yes.
What quantity? Large enough?
I couldn't tell you. I mean, I can't tell you. I can't be so finite as to tell you qualities.
Okay.
I mean, quantities.
Okay. Now, if I'm to look at the trading possibilities in the Caribbean, I think Trinidad is by far the most successful. Then I think followed by Jamaica. But Guyana is coming up there to be now because of its oil and other agricultural products and so forth. But where do you see this trading going within the CSME? Many countries are trading more with the United States than within the Caribbean. And we call it for a Caribbean common market. So where that is going?
No. I mean, we're all becoming bigger and better producers. Some of us produce goods, some of us produce services. And we, of course, again, food security is central to any increased production that we would be looking at, feeding ourselves, and of course, ramping up our exports and earning foreign exchange and so on. That's also a focus. Where any country doing it, look, any country doing well in any which way, including producing services, whatever they produce, is better for all of us. When other countries do well within the region, we do well because we export a lot to them. They buy more goods. And so, for instance, Guyana has at its time a significant opportunity, and we couldn't be, it would benefit all of us. When Guyana does well, we would all do well. And Guyana's focus, I know it's on energy, but their focus is also on food production. And that's a key focus, and that is beneficial, as I said, not to Guyana alone, but to if Guyana can produce wheat and soybean and corn, and we will be saving significant foreign exchange, and we would have the certainty of supply for us in the region. And for us, and for all of us who are flour producers across the region, we would be getting our inputs from them and so on. We're all looking at the value added. And of course, ensuring that we could supply all of the items that are needed for these particular items along the value chain. There are many poultry producers across the region, but we rely on inputs for poultry feed. If Ghana is able to, if Belize is able to do, if any country is able to produce the inputs into animal feed, it helps all of us. So again, we are not looking singularly as to, you keep saying Guyana as against Trinidad. No, any country in the region doing any better than it is now, we would all benefit. It creates opportunities for our people because we have the free movement of labor, capital, and people. And if Guyana is doing well, you'll find that it will attract many of our energy service people. So it's a win-win all around for the region. And the level of cooperation that we're witnessing now, I think it's the region that is doing well. Yes, we are happy for the people of Guyana, but we are all doing better. Jamaica is expanding its manufacturing and so on, and so is Trinidad. The tourism sector is doing well across the region. In their own way, everybody is looking at food production. We are all united in seeing all of our countries prosper. And as I said, with the free movement of people in particular, it's for the benefit of all of our people. And that's the kind of united front. That's the will that we must have, not be divided. We must be gatherers and not seek to separate ourselves at all. The CSME has worked to some extent, but we are all committed to stay working, and the beneficiary would only be all of the people of the region. And so that Guyana's success is one that we're more than pleased with the people of Guyana, but I know that success will benefit the region.
As the Minister of Trade and Industry, what type of industries you're working on to come to Trinidad to boost Trinidad economy more?
What kind of industry are we working on?
Yeah, you were working on to come to Trinidad to invest.
No, I mean, into the industry, I would say yes, the manufacturing industry, but several aspects, several subsectors within there. But as I said before, one of the areas that we are refocusing on outside of manufacturing is the yachting industry. We have developed a cadre of persons with significant skills in ship repair and so on, and shipbuilding, building of small boats and ship repair, and when that kind of success brings with it the ability to supply a lot of services. So it's one of an area of focus for us, the yachting industry. We are below the hurricane belt, and we think that, again, with the ability to supply these services, it's a significant area for growth and expansion and for the earning of foreign exchange. So that's another area that we're working on. We're looking at things like transshipment and coal stacking and so on. Those are other areas within the maritime industry that will earn us good foreign exchange again, and for which we are able to supply the necessary services. So I would say the tourism is another area that we're developing, and also the agricultural sector. The agricultural sector, again, with the focus of feeding ourselves, with the focus of supplying inputs into manufacturing, and with the focus of exporting to all the rest of the region, but also extra regionally as well. And again, looking at our niche products, our cocoa is a huge focus for us at this time. Trinidad and Tobago has 100 varieties of cocoa. We are home to the Trinitaria cocoa, which is well regarded in the world. But again, where we exported cocoa beans, and then we focus on cocoa slabs. The idea now is to go the whole value chain. So the focus for me and for the Minister of Agriculture is expanding cocoa production, yes, and to have a greater cocoa production. But on the other hand, we're looking at ensuring that the value added is there, and that we are now producing high quality finished products that we can export, and for which there's a demand across the globe. When you think of exporting to a country that is thousands of miles away, thousands and thousands of miles away, like Saudi Arabia and China and so on, because there are very few niche products that you can send to those countries. So for us, cocoa chocolates is one of them. And given that we do have one of the finest cocoas, and we are recognized for the finest cocoa variety, the Trinitaria cocoa, the idea is to get our entrepreneurs producing the finest quality of a finished product that we can export to the rest of the world. And the focus is there on that.
My final question, tourism. You mentioned tourism, especially Carnival and so forth. But how much of that makes up Trinidad's economy?
It's insubstantial.
You have to be precise.
It is insubstantial at this time, but it's an area for growth. And I said, we, again, because of the very extensive energy sector, well, you would find that we attracted more business tourism before. That's Trinidad, and of course, Tobago being more of a leisure tourism island. The idea is that we intensify on the leisure side, we intensify on the ecotourism side as well, and on the cultural tourism. We feel that we can attract. We are a very warm and effervescent and vivacious people and vibrant people and so on. And I think there's a lot that we can show to the rest of the world, and certainly participate in a bigger way in the economy of Trinidad and Tobago. That is through tourism.
Thank you, Minister. We have come to the end of the program. Charles, over to you.
Minister, I know we're coming to the end. I saw in 2009, the 5th Summit of the Americas, you give President Obama a huge hug there at the tarmac.
I will correct you immediately. I didn't hug him, he hugged me.
Minister, what you have said tonight, I really believe that you will be a great Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago. You're a great, you're a great integratedness within Caricom, and I really look forward to you being continue your work within Caricom to have a united front, so the Caricom can be a greater body. Minister, in closing, is there anything else you want to? Before you close? What's the minimum wage of Trinidad and Tobago?
What's it, sorry?
What is the minimum wage of Trinidad and Tobago?
Oh, the minimum wage of Trinidad and Tobago right now is, I think, $15. Imagine that. It has to be. How could
15 TT?
Yeah, I think. Oh, is it 17? Let me double check while I'm talking to you. A
monthly minimum wage within the ministry, the government minimum wage.
Oh no, I'm giving you now that. But I want to correct you. You see, at $17.50, I'm out of touch. $17.50 Paula. So $17.50.
$17.50 an hour?
That's the minimum wage, effective December 1st, 2019.
And what's this monthly salary, minimum monthly salary?
Oh, God, that
For
it depends on the sector. But I want to go back to what you said before and say it again. I have no primary ambition.
we heard you, Minister.
That, and
we heard you, but you're a great integrationist, and we look forward to you being.
I love the region more than ever.
Part of. Yeah, Minister, we're now closing time. Is there anything else you want to say in closing?
No, I really do wish for the region much prosperity. I wish for the people of the region, the people of my country, in particular, Trinidad and Tobago, to be able to participate in the growth of the economy so that they too, as their families and so on, can also prosper. So I believe in us and believe in the region, but more than ever, for the participation of the people so that they too can prosper.
And thank you, the Honorable Minister Paula Gopee-Scoon, for
Thank you very much.
spending your evening with us. I know it's a holiday in Trinidad and Tobago today. And again, we want to wish the people of Trinidad and Tobago happy Indian Arrival Day.
Absolutely.
Dr. Rose, anything in closing?
No, not really. Just to say to you, Minister, it was a pleasure having you here this evening. And you really say things that a lot of people did not know. And now I think it is time for us to say, well, we are indeed integrated within the Caricom area. But Minister, when the program closes, can I have a word with you after just for a minute?
Okay, thank you so much. And to all our audience out there, we want to thank you, to Noor Singh and to Lekram Ramprasad from New York, from Guyana, from Trinidad and Tobago. Good night and God bless our nation.
Thank you very much. Good night, everyone.